From Washington, this is VOA News. I'm Marty Johnson reporting. The Islamic State claims responsibility for suicide blasts at mosques in Yemen. Medical officials say more than 130 people were killed and more than 250 wounded in a series of suicide bombings at mosques in the Yemen capital Sana'a. Officials say at least 4 bombers blew themselves up both inside and outside the mosques as they tried to kill those attempting to flee. Witnesses say there was blood, body parts, and charred victims everywhere. A group claiming to be a Yemeni branch of the Islamic State claims responsibility for the blast, posting an online statement vowing more attacks in the future. European leaders say they will work to enforce stability just across the Mediterranean in Tunisia and Libya, even as they move on to other problems, pushing debt-ridden burden Greece onto reforms and agreeing to keep sanctions against Russia. For VOA, Lisa Bryant reports.
With Tunisia still reeling from this week's terrorist attack, European Union President Donald Tusk said the 28-member bloc will offer aid and cooperation to help the North African country shore up security. Mr. Tusk said there is no easy fix.
I'm not sure that we have a short-term solution for Libya or Tunisia or other countries or regions with the terrorism problem.
Mr. Tusk spoke at a press conference on Friday after EU leaders wrapped up a 2-day meeting that also addressed the Greek debt crisis and the conflict in Ukraine. Lisa Bryant for VOA News, Paris.
Talks between Iran and the P5+1 resumed Friday but are now on hold through next week as the Iranian delegation returns home to observe the death of the president's father. This is VOA News. Hundreds of Tunisians marched through the capital, Sana'a, today, marking the 59th anniversary of Tunisian independence from France, just 2 days after a deadly attack on the National Museum. Most of the people were killed were foreign tourists, including a threesome from Poland. Another 10 Poles were wounded in Wednesday's mass shooting in the capital of Tunis. In honoring Tunisia's National Day, Secretary of State John Kerry said the U.S. condemns the heinous and cowardly attack perpetrated by terrorists at the historic National Bardo Museum in Tunis, but the attack cannot diminish the shining example of the country's dedication to democracy. Officials in Liberia have reported the country's first new case of Ebola in weeks, ending hopes that the nation had beaten the deadly virus. Officials say the new patient has been transferred to an Ebola treatment center in the capital Monrovia. Liberian health workers had discharged their last Ebola patient, the last previously known patient, on March 5th. The World Health Organization is denying accusations that it delayed declaring the West African Ebola epidemic an international public health emergency for political reasons. An investigation by the Associated Press found secretly obtained emails indicate the WHO's slow response was intentional. Lisa Schlein reports for VOA from Geneva.
The AP article claims the World Health Organization downplayed the severity of the Ebola epidemic for fear of angering the 3 heavily infected West African countries. It says internal documents show the WHO was afraid declaring a global emergency could set off alarm bells which could hurt the country's economies or interfere with the Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca. WHO communications spokeswoman on Ebola, Margaret Harris, tells VOA this is categorically untrue and incorrect.
So there was no secrecy. The minute we were informed of the cases and the minute we had confirmation that it was Ebola Zaire, we notified the world.
Lisa Schlein for VOA News, Geneva.
3 coaches of a passenger plane derailed Friday morning in northern India, killing 15 people. At least 50 others were injured in the accident in Uttar Pradesh state. Reuters says its news websites have become inaccessible in mainland China in what appears to be the latest effort by Beijing to block Western media outlets. The Britain-based news agency said in a report Friday it's not clear why users in China are unable to access both English and Chinese language websites. Reuters' financial news and data services are unchanged. Sky gazers near the Arctic Circle were treated to a perfect view of a total solar eclipse Friday as the moon completely blocked the sun in a clear sky, casting shadow over Norway's remote archipelago of Svalbard. Partial solar eclipse was seen in Europe and parts of Asia and Africa. I'm Marty Johnson reporting.
That's the latest world news from VOA.